The sun rose lazily over the rolling hills of Novaterra, casting a warm glow across the human colony's capital city, New Eden. Skyscrapers of glass and carbon nanotubes stretched towards the pale blue sky, their surfaces shimmering with the bioluminescent algae that powered much of the city's infrastructure. In the suburbs, nestled between lush parks and winding streams, the Peterson family was starting their day. 7-year-old Ava Peterson bounded down the stairs, her curly hair bouncing with each step. Her eyes sparkled with excitement as she clutched a datapad displaying her latest school project, a meticulously crafted model of the Novaterran solar system. "Mom, Dad, look what I made," Ava exclaimed, thrusting the datapad towards her parents. James and Maria Peterson exchanged proud glances as they examined their daughter's work. "That's fantastic, sweetheart," James said, ruffling Ava's hair. "You'll be piloting starships before we know it." Ava beamed at the compliment. "I'm going to be the best astronaut ever. I'll explore every planet in the galaxy." Maria chuckled, setting a plate of lab-grown bacon and eggs on the table. "Well, future astronaut, you'd better fuel up for your big day at school." As the family settled in for breakfast, 5-year-old Ethan, Ava's younger brother, stumbled into the kitchen, rubbing sleep from his eyes. "Is it pancake day?" he mumbled hopefully. "Sorry, champ," James replied. "Pancakes are for weekends. But hey, how about we all go to the anti-gravity park after school today?" The children cheered in agreement, their excitement palpable. It was a scene of domestic bliss, a snapshot of the peace and prosperity that humanity had achieved since expanding to the stars. Little did they know that their world was about to be shattered. Halfway across the galaxy, in the gilded halls of the Galactic Empire's Central Command, Emperor Zixnax glowered at the holographic display before him. The insectoid ruler's compound eyes flickered with annoyance as he absorbed the latest intelligence reports. "So, the humans continue to resist our cultural integration programs," he chittered to his advisors. High Counselor Vexmar bobbed his antennae in affirmation. "Yes, Your Luminance. Despite our best efforts, they cling to their primitive notions of individual liberty and self-determination. They refuse to accept the benefits of joining our glorious empire." Emperor Zixnax's mandibles clacked in frustration. "Unacceptable. We've tolerated their defiance for too long. It's time to remind these upstart apes of their place in the cosmic order." With a wave of his chidnous appendage, the Emperor issued the order that would change the course of galactic history. "Dispatch the 15th Fleet to the human colony world of Novaterra. Show them the price of defiance." Back on Novaterra, the morning progressed with blissful ignorance of the approaching storm. Ava and Ethan waved goodbye to their parents as they boarded the school hover bus, their minds filled with dreams of future adventures among the stars. At the New Eden spaceport, traffic controller Sarah Chen frowned at her sensor readings. "That's odd," she muttered to herself, adjusting the calibration on her equipment. "Hey, Jack, are you seeing this?" Her colleague, Jack Mbeki, leaned over to examine her screen. "Multiple unscheduled entries into the system. That's not right. No one's due for." His words trailed off as the sensor data crystallized into a chilling reality. "Oh my God. Sarah, sound the alarm. Now." Klaxons blared across New Eden as the Galactic Empire's 15th Fleet dropped out of hyperspace, their massive battleships blotting out the sun. Panic erupted in the streets as citizens looked to the skies in horror, their worst fears confirmed. At New Eden Elementary, Ava's class was interrupted by the wail of sirens. Her teacher, Ms. Hernandez, struggled to maintain calm as she ushered the children towards the school's emergency bunker. "Single file, everyone, just like we practiced." Ava clutched her brother's hand tightly as they hurried down the hallway. "It's okay, Ethan," she whispered, trying to sound brave. "Remember what Dad said. Our ships will protect us." But as they reached the playground, a blinding flash of light seared the sky. The Empire's energy weapons had breached New Eden's defensive shields, and chaos reigned. In orbit, the human defense fleet engaged the Empire's ships. The void of space illuminated by streaks of plasma fire and antimatter explosions. Captain Elena Volkov of the NES Intrepid gritted her teeth as her ship shuddered under enemy fire. Status report. She barked, gripping her command chair as another blast rocked the bridge. Shields at 30%, Captain, her tactical officer responded. We're outnumbered 5-1. Volkov's eyes narrowed as she assessed the tactical display. Concentrate fire on their flagship. If we can take out their command and control, we might stand a chance. But even as the words left her mouth, she knew it was a futile hope. The Empire's technological superiority was overwhelming, their ships shrugging off attacks that would have vaporized human vessels. On the ground, James and Maria Peterson raced through the streets in their family hover car, desperation etched on their faces. The school's just 2 blocks away, Maria said, her voice tight with fear. We can make it. James nodded grimly, swerving to avoid debris raining from the sky. We'll get them out, Maria. We'll. His words were cut short as an energy beam lanced down from above, carving a molten trench through the city center. At the school, Ava and Ethan huddled with their classmates in the playground as Ms. Hernandez tried to lead them to safety. The bunker entrance was just meters away when another blast struck nearby, showering them with dirt and rubble. Ava saw the danger before anyone else, a section of wall, destabilized by the attack, beginning to topple towards them. Time seemed to slow as she processed the threat, her young mind making lightning-fast calculations. Without hesitation, Ava shoved Ethan forward with all her might. Run, she screamed, her voice lost in the cacophony of destruction around them. Ethan stumbled forward, propelled by his sister's push. He turned back just in time to see Ava's determined face disappear behind the falling debris. Ava! Ethan's anguished cry pierced the air as Ms. Hernandez scooped him up, rushing towards the bunker entrance. In that moment, as dust and smoke billowed across the playground, humanity lost not just a bright young girl, but a symbol of its innocence and hope for the future. Across human space, the tragedy unfolding on Novaterra was broadcast in real time, a consequence of the highly connected nature of human society. Billions watched in horror as the Empire's attack claimed countless lives, but it was the image of young Ava's sacrifice that seared itself into the collective consciousness. On Earth, in the fortified chambers of the United Earth Government, President Kira Chen watched the feeds with a mix of sorrow and cold fury. She turned to her assembled advisors, her voice steely with resolve. Ladies and gentlemen, we've prepared for this day for centuries. It's time to awaken the sleeping giant. She paused, her next words heavy with the weight of history. Activate Project Hydra. All of it. As the orders went out, as hidden facilities around Earth and its colonies hummed to life, as humanity prepared to unveil its true strength, the galaxy stood on the precipice of a war unlike any it had ever seen. And it all began with the loss of one small, brave girl named Ava Peterson, whose sacrifice would become the rallying cry for a species pushed too far. The lunar surface, usually a picture of serene desolation, suddenly came alive with activity. Hidden seams appeared in the regolith, and massive doors began to slide open, revealing cavernous hangars that had lain dormant for centuries. Similar scenes unfolded across Earth and its colonies, in the Mariana Trench, beneath the Sahara, in the heart of Olympus Mons on Mars. In a secret facility buried deep beneath the lunar surface, President Kira Chen strode purposefully through gleaming corridors, flanked by her top military advisors. They entered a vast command center, its walls lined with holographic displays showing real-time data from across human space. Status report, Chen demanded, her voice tight with controlled urgency. Fleet Admiral Javier Cortez, a grizzled veteran with cybernetic implants lining his temple, stepped forward. Madam President, Project Hydra is awakening. All 700,000 dreadnoughts are reporting optimal functionality. Crew deployment is at 73% and climbing rapidly. Chen nodded, her eyes fixed on the central holodisplay, showing the unfolding tragedy on Novaterra. How soon can we launch? First wave will be ready in 30 minutes. Full deployment in 2 hours, Cortez replied. Make it one, Chen ordered. Humanity has hidden long enough. As if in response to her words, the lunar surface seemed to erupt. Enormous vessels, each easily dwarfing the largest known ships of the Galactic Empire, rose from their underground berths. Their hulls gleamed with a material unknown to the wider galaxy, absorbing and refracting light in impossible ways. On Earth, in the towering skyscrapers of New Tokyo and the underwater arcologies of Atlantic City, in the orbital habitats and distant colonies, humans watched in awe as their hidden strength was finally revealed. Aboard the NES Prometheus, the flagship of Earth's awakened fleet, Captain Zara Okonkwo marveled at the ship's neural interface, connecting her directly to every system. As a member of the secret society that had prepared humanity for this moment, she had trained for years in simulators, but nothing could have prepared her for the reality. Weapons check, she commanded, her thoughts instantly translating to ship-wide orders. Antimatter cannons primed. Chronoton torpedoes loaded. Gravity lance charge, her weapons officer reported, his voice tinged with excitement and apprehension. Zara allowed herself a grim smile. The Empire thought they knew the extent of human technology. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Back in the Lunar Command Center, President Chen addressed the leaders of Earth's nations and colonies, their faces displayed on screens surrounding her. For centuries, we'd hidden our true strength, knowing that one day we would face a threat that required every ounce of our ingenuity and resources. She began, her voice steady and resolute. That day has come. The Galactic Empire has attacked our people, killed our children. They believe us weak, divided, easy prey for their expansionist ambitions. She paused, her eyes blazing with determination. Today, we show them, and the galaxy, that humanity will not bow. We will not break. We will stand united against tyranny, against those who would deny us our rightful place among the stars. Cheers erupted from the assembled leaders, a chorus of agreement that echoed across human space. As the Dreadnoughts assembled in high Earth orbit, their crews rushed to battle stations. These weren't ordinary soldiers and pilots. Each had been selected from birth, their genetics optimized, their training more comprehensive than anything the galaxy had seen. Lieutenant Aisha Patel, a young prodigy in xenobiology and tactical analysis, strapped herself into the gunner's seat aboard the NES Excalibur. Her mind melded seamlessly with the ship's systems, terabytes of tactical data flowing through her consciousness. "Hey, Aisha," called out her childhood friend and the ship's pilot, Jun Park. "Ready to make history." Aisha grinned, despite the gravity of the situation. "Born ready, June, let's show these Empire bugs what happens when you mess with Earth." Across the fleet, similar scenes played out. Crews who had trained together for years, sometimes decades, in total secrecy, now prepared to face their first real combat. In orbit around Mars, a special division of the fleet assembled. These ships, sleeker and faster than the main Dreadnoughts, housed Earth's most closely guarded secret, the Gordian Network. Dr. Ilara Voss, the lead scientist behind the project, initiated the startup sequence. "Quantum entanglement stable," she reported to Admiral Cortez. "The Gordian Network is online. We're ready to deploy the wormhole drive." Cortez nodded, a hint of awe in his voice as he replied, "Proceed, Doctor. Let's change the rules of engagement." On his command, the specialized ships activated their wormhole drives, tearing holes in the fabric of space-time. These artificial wormholes would allow Earth's fleet to bypass traditional hyperspace routes, arriving at Empire worlds faster than should be physically possible. As the fleet prepared to move out, President Chen made one final address, this time to all of humanity. "Citizens of Earth and her colonies, today we face the greatest challenge in our history. The Galactic Empire thought us weak, thought they could subjugate us as they have countless other races. They were wrong." Images flashed across billions of screens, the destruction on Novaterra, the fallen civilians, and finally, the face of young Ava Peterson, her brave sacrifice captured for all to see. We go to war not for conquest, not for glory, but for justice, for little Ava, and for all those who have fallen victim to the Empire's aggression. We fight so that no more innocent lives are lost to tyranny. Chen's voice swelled with emotion. For centuries, we have prepared in secret, building our strength, advancing our technology far beyond what the galaxy believes possible. We hid not out of fear, but out of prudence, knowing that one day we would need every advantage to face a threat like this. The cameras panned out, showing the vast armada of Earth ships now assembled in orbit. To the Galactic Empire, and to all who would threaten humanity's freedom, know this: we are not the easy prey you believed us to be. We are humanity. We have survived ice ages and asteroids, plagues and world wars. We have reached for the stars and made them our home. Her eyes blazed with fierce determination. And now we will show the galaxy that when you harm one of us, you face all of us. We are Legion. We are united, and we will not rest until justice is served and peace is restored. As Chen's words echoed across human space, the massive fleet began to move. Dreadnoughts fell into formation, their exotic matter drives flaring to life. The specialized ships of the Gordian network took point, their wormhole drives ready to tear open shortcuts across the galaxy. Captain Okonkwo's voice rang out across the command channel. All ships, prepare for wormhole transit. Our first target is the Empire's primary shipyard at Omega Centauri. Let's remind them why it's a bad idea to anchor the sleeping giant. With a flash of light that outshone the sun, Earth's fleet vanished into the artificial wormholes, embarking on a campaign that would reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. The sleeping giant was awake, and the Galactic Empire was about to face the full might of a humanity it had gravely underestimated. The vast shipyards of Omega Centauri hung in space like a glittering web, a testament to the Galactic Empire's industrial might. Countless vessels in various stages of construction floated in the void, attended by swarms of worker drones and construction pods. It was the pride of the Empire's war machine, thought to be impregnable. Until today. Without warning, space itself seemed to tear open. Swirling vortexes of blue and purple energy manifested throughout the system, and from these artificial wormholes poured the vanguard of Earth's fleet. Aboard the Imperial Command Station, Arch Commander Sixfex's mandibles clacked in alarm. Impossible. How did they breach our perimeter? He chittered to his subordinates. Raise shields. Scramble all fighters. But his orders came too late. Captain Zara Okonkwo's voice rang out across the human fleet. All ships, weapons free. Show them no mercy. The response was devastating. Antimatter beams lanced out from the human dreadnoughts, each shot powerful enough to slice an Imperial cruiser in half. Chronoton torpedoes detonated among clusters of enemy ships, creating localized time distortions that caused the vessels to age centuries in seconds, crumbling into space dust. Lieutenant Aisha Patel, aboard the NES Excalibur, unleashed a barrage from the ship's gravity lance. The weapon fired a concentrated beam of exotic particles, manipulating the very fabric of space-time. Imperial ships caught in its path were crushed as if in the grip of a black hole, their hulls crumpling like tinfoil. Jun. Aisha called out to her pilot friend. 3 bogies on our 6. I see them, Jun replied, his hands dancing over the neural interface. The Excalibur performed a maneuver that should have been impossible for a ship its size, flipping end over end and bringing its main guns to bear on the pursuing Imperial fighters. A single volley reduced them to scattered atoms. Across the battlefield, similar scenes played out. The Empire's forces, caught completely off guard by the humans' sudden appearance and overwhelming firepower, struggled to mount an effective defense. Arch Commander Sixfex watched in horror as his mighty fleet was decimated. Send the distress call, he ordered. We need reinforcements from the core worlds. But even as the message was sent, Dr. Ilara Voss and her team aboard the stealth ship NES Enigma were hard at work. The Gordian Network, a web of quantum-entangled particles spread throughout the galaxy, allowed them to intercept and manipulate the Empire's communications in real time. Message intercepted and nullified. Dr. Voss reported to Admiral Cortez. As far as the Empire's core worlds know, everything at Omega Centauri is business as usual. Cortez allowed himself a grim smile. Excellent work, Doctor. Maintain communication blackout for the system. As the battle raged, a squad of human stealth dropships slipped through the chaos, heading for the Imperial Command Station. Leading the assault was Major Dant Chen, son of President Kira Chen, and his elite team of cyber-augmented commandos. Remember, Dant briefed his team as they approached their target. Our primary objective is to secure the Imperial database. Any intelligence we can gather on their military capabilities and deployment will be crucial for the battles ahead. The dropships latched onto the station's hull, cutting through with molecular disassemblers. Within moments, Dante and his team were inside, engaging the station's surprise defenders with ruthless efficiency. Imperial soldiers fell before the humans' advanced weaponry and augmented reflexes. Dante moved like a blur, his nanofiber muscles and neural boosters allowing him to dodge energy bolts and dispatch enemies with inhuman speed. As they fought their way to the central data core, Dante couldn't help but reflect on the irony. The Empire had attacked Earth thinking humans were primitive and weak. Now, they were facing the consequences of centuries of human preparation and technological advancement conducted in secret. Back in the space battle, the tide had decisively turned. Captain Okonkwo coordinated the fleet's movements with precision, using the Gordian Network to outmaneuver and outgun the Imperial forces at every turn. "Target their main power reactors," she ordered. "Let's send a message they won't forget." The human fleet concentrated its fire on the shipyard's massive power cores. Antimatter beams and gravity lenses struck in concert, overwhelming the Imperial defenses. For a moment, it seemed as if a new sun had been born as the reactors went critical, the resulting explosion consuming a significant portion of the shipyards. Aboard the Imperial Command Station, Arch Commander Zixpex realized the battle was lost. "Prepare my escape pod," he chittered to his remaining officers. "We must warn the Emperor of this threat." But as he turned to flee, he found himself face to face with Major Dant Chen and his commandos. "Going somewhere?" Dant asked, his voice cold as steel. Zixpex's compound eyes widened in terror. How did you evolve so quickly? This level of technology, it's impossible." Dant's lip curled in disgust. "You underestimated us, bug. Humanity has been preparing for this day for centuries. Now you'll answer for your crimes." With a swift motion, Dante neutralized the Arch Commander with a neural disruptor, leaving him alive but paralyzed. "Package secured," he reported. "Initiating data transfer from the Imperial cores now." As Dante's team worked to extract crucial intelligence from the Imperial databases, the space battle entered its final stages. The remaining Imperial ships, realizing the futility of their situation, began to surrender. Captain Okonkwo's voice rang out across the fleet. "To all Imperial vessels, power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. Any further resistance will be met with lethal force." One by one, the Imperial ships complied, their crews shocked by the sudden reversal of fortune. As human boarding parties secured the surrendered vessels, the true scale of the victory became apparent. Admiral Cortez, coordinating the battle from the Lunar Command Center, allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. "Omega Centauri has fallen," he reported to President Chen. "Casualties minimal on our side. Imperial losses total." President Chen nodded gravely. "Excellent work, Admiral. But this is just the beginning. What's our next target?" Cortez brought up a galactic map, highlighting several key Imperial strongholds. "We've already dispatched fleets to these locations. Thanks to the Gordian Network, we'll be hitting them simultaneously. The Empire won't know what hit them." As reports flooded in from across the galaxy, the stunning scope of humanity's counterattack became clear. Imperial worlds previously thought unassailable fell in rapid succession. The Empire's vaunted fleets, their technology now obsolete in the face of human advancements, were being systematically dismantled. On 1,000 worlds, alien races watched in awe and fear as news of the Empire's defeats spread. Many who had suffered under Imperial rule began to hope for liberation. Others, long neutral, reassessed their stance in the face of humanity's unexpected might. Aboard the NES Prometheus, Captain Okonkwo received the coordinates for their next target. As her crew prepared for another wormhole jump, she took a moment to gaze at a holographic image of Earth. "This is for Ava," she whispered, thinking of the brave little girl whose death had sparked this war. "And for all of us." With a flash of light, the human fleet vanished into another wormhole, ready to unleash vengeance on their next target. The Galactic Empire, which had stood unchallenged for millennia, was about to learn the true cost of awakening humanity's wrath. The war had only just begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. 3 weeks into the war, the galaxy was reeling from humanity's relentless assault. The Galactic Empire, once thought invincible, was now fighting for its very survival. But as news of Earth's victories spread, a new conversation began to emerge among humanity's ranks. On the streets of New Shanghai, protesters gathered in front of the United Earth Government headquarters. Their signs bore slogans like "Justice, not genocide," and "Remember our humanity." Sarah Chen, no relation to the president, stood at the forefront, her voice carrying over the crowd. "We cannot become the very monsters we're fighting against," she shouted into a megaphone. "Yes, the Empire attacked us, but does that justify the wholesale slaughter of their civilians?" The crowd's response was mixed, with some cheering in agreement while others shouted in opposition. The debate that had started in living rooms and virtual forums was now spilling onto the streets. In orbit above Earth, aboard the medical frigate NES Nightingale, Dr. Yuki Tanaka reviewed the latest casualty reports with growing concern. The ship's wards were filled not just with human wounded, but also with Imperial civilians caught in the crossfire of humanity's vengeful campaign. Dr. Tanaka paused by the bed of a young Xerxian, an insectoid species that made up a significant portion of the Empire's population. The child's iridescent wings were torn, its compound eyes dim with pain. "How can we justify this?" Tanaka murmured to her colleague, Dr. Aidan O'Brien. "This child had no part in the Empire's decision to attack us." O'Brien sighed heavily. "I know, Yuki, but what choice do we have? If we don't stop the Empire now, how many more will suffer under their rule?" Their conversation was interrupted by an alert on their datapads. A new directive from High Command. All medical personnel were to prioritize human patients over alien civilians. Dr. Tanaka's face hardened with resolve. "No," she said firmly. "I took an oath to preserve life, regardless of species. I won't abandon my principles, even in war." Meanwhile, on the front lines, the ethical dilemma was taking a different form. Major Dan Chen and his commando team had infiltrated the Imperial fortress world of Zeta 9, a key strategic location. But as they approached their target, a massive weapons facility, Dan's second-in-command, Lieutenant Kira Yoshida, spotted something through her enhanced optics. "Sir," she reported, her voice tight, "the Imperials are using civilians as human shields." "Correction, as alien shields." Dant cursed under his breath. The mission parameters were clear: destroy the facility at all costs. But the cost had suddenly become much higher than anticipated. "Command, this is Strike Team Alpha," Dant radioed. "We have a situation. Requesting new orders." Back in the Lunar Command Center, President Kira Chen listened to her son's report with a heavy heart. The strategic importance of Zeta 9 was undeniable, but the political fallout of killing innocent civilians could be catastrophic. "Major," she replied, her voice steady despite the turmoil in her heart. "Your orders stand. Complete the mission." There was a long pause before Dant's response came through. "Understood, Command. Strike Team Alpha out." As the connection cut, President Chen turned to Admiral Cortez. "Tell me I'm not becoming a monster, Javier." Cortez's cybernetic eye whirred as he focused on her. "You're doing what needs to be done, Madam President. War is never clean." But even as he spoke, doubts gnawed at him. The line between justice and vengeance was becoming increasingly blurred. On the imperial capital world of Xerxia Prime, Emperor Zixnax faced a crisis of his own. His advisors had just presented him with a radical proposal. "Your Luminance," High Counselor Vexmar began, his antennae twitching nervously. "Our scientists believe they found a way to neutralize the humans' technological advantage. But the cost would be astronomical." Zixnax leaned forward on his ornate throne. "Explain." "A quantum resonance weapon," Vexmar continued. "It would disable their exotic matter drives and collapse their wormholes. But the resulting subspace distortions would render dozens of systems uninhabitable, including some of our own colonies." The Emperor's compound eyes narrowed as he considered the implications. Billions would die, including his own subjects, but faced with the alternative of total defeat. "Do it," he chittered. "Better to rule over ashes than to submit to these human barbarians." As preparations for this desperate gambit began, a new voice entered the galactic conversation. On the neutral world of Harmonix, home to a species of empathic crystalline beings, a unique experiment was underway. Dr. Ilara Voss, the genius behind the Gordian network, had been secretly working with a group of Harmonixian elders. Together, they had developed a way to amplify the Harmonixians' empathic abilities across vast distances. In a chamber deep beneath the crystal spires of Harmonix capital, Dr. Voss addressed a group of human and Harmonixian volunteers. "What we're attempting here is unprecedented," she explained. "We're going to establish an empathic link between humans and Imperial citizens. If we succeed, both sides will be forced to confront the toll this war is taking on innocent lives." The volunteers linked hands, forming a circle around a pulsing crystal matrix. As the Harmonixians began to sing in their haunting, multitonal voices, the crystal glowed brighter. Dr. Voss activated the Gordian network, extending the empathic field across the galaxy. Suddenly, humans and Imperials alike found themselves experiencing flashes of emotion and memory not their own. A human soldier felt the terror of an Imperial child huddling in a bomb shelter. An Imperial bureaucrat experienced the grief of a human parent who had lost their child in the initial attack. The effect was immediate and profound. On a dozen battlefields, weapons fell silent as combatants reeled from the shared empathic experience. In the Lunar Command Center, President Chen gasped as she felt the fear and confusion of an Imperial civilian watching their world burn. But it was on Zeta-9 that the impact was most dramatic. Just as Major Dan Chen was about to give the order to attack the weapons facility, heedless of the civilian shields, he was struck by a wave of empathy so powerful it brought him to his knees. In that moment, he felt the love of an Imperial parent for their child, the hopes and dreams of beings he had considered nothing more than enemies, and he realized with stark clarity that he couldn't go through with the attack. "Strike team, belay that last order," he commanded, his voice hoarse with emotion. "We're aborting the mission. I repeat, we are aborting." As the empathic link faded, its effects lingered. Across human space and throughout the Empire, people were forced to confront the true cost of the war. The lines between aggressor and defender, between justice and vengeance, had been irrevocably blurred. In the aftermath, protests erupted on both human and Imperial worlds, demanding an end to the conflict. The war had reached a turning point, but the path forward was far from clear. As President Chen prepared to address the United Earth government, she knew that the decisions made in the coming days would shape the future not just of humanity, but of the entire galaxy. The quest for justice had exacted a terrible price, and now, facing the weight of countless lives lost and the shared pain of a galaxy in turmoil, it was time to consider the true meaning of victory. The war's end was in sight, but the real challenge, building a lasting peace, was just beginning. The Grand Hall of the Galactic Concord on neutral harmonics was abuzz with tension. Representatives from Earth, the remnants of the Galactic Empire, and dozens of other species gathered for what promised to be the most significant diplomatic event in cosmic history. President Kira Chen stood at the entrance, taking a deep breath before stepping into the chamber. The weight of humanity's future rested on her shoulders. As she walked down the aisle, she caught glimpses of familiar faces. Her son, Major Dant Chen, still haunted by the events on Zeta-9. Dr. Ilara Voss, the architect of the empathic breakthrough that had changed the course of the war, and Captain Zara Okonkwo, whose military brilliance had brought humanity to this point. At the other end of the hall, Emperor Zixnax waited, his once proud posture now subdued. The war had taken its toll on the Empire, and the failed deployment of the quantum resonance weapon had cost him the support of many of his own people. As President Chen reached the central podium, a hush fell over the assembly. Her voice, firm and clear, echoed through the chamber. "We gather here today not as victors and vanquished, but as beings who have glimpsed the true cost of conflict," she began. "The war that began with the tragic death of one human child has opened our eyes to the shared suffering of all sentient life." She paused, her gaze sweeping across the diverse gathering. "Today, we have a choice. We can continue down the path of retribution, or we can forge a new way forward, one of understanding, cooperation, and lasting peace." Emperor Zixnax stepped forward, his mandibles clicking softly. "The Empire acknowledges its grave error in underestimating humanity and in our aggressive expansion. We have paid a heavy price for our arrogance. Now, we seek not just an end to hostilities, but a chance to make amends." As the two leaders spoke, the Harmonixian elders activated a low-level empathic field, allowing everyone in the chamber to sense the sincerity and the pain behind their words. Over the next several hours, the framework for a new galactic order began to take shape. Key points emerge. The dissolution of the Galactic Empire as a centralized authority, with member worlds given autonomy to self-govern. The establishment of a Galactic Council, with rotating representation from all sentient species, to address interstellar matters. A program of reparations for worlds harmed by Imperial expansion, funded by the redistribution of Imperial resources. The sharing of key technologies, including Earth's advanced propulsion and energy systems, to elevate all species and prevent future power imbalances. The creation of a multicultural peacekeeping force to prevent future conflicts and protect developing civilizations. As the discussions progressed, not everyone was satisfied. Sarah Chen, the protest leader from Earth, had been invited to represent civilian concerns. She stood, her voice ringing out clear and passionate. "These are steps in the right direction, but they don't address the core issue," she argued. "How do we ensure that power, be it human, imperial, or this new galactic council, is never again abused? How do we protect the rights of individuals across the galaxy?" Her words sparked a new round of debate. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, still wearing her medical uniform, offered a proposal. "What if we established a universal declaration of sentient rights, a foundational document that transcends species and governs how all beings should be treated?" The idea gained traction, with representatives from various worlds offering input. The Harmonixians suggested incorporating empathic training into education systems across the galaxy to foster understanding. The cybernetically enhanced Galaxians proposed an open-source approach to technological development to prevent any one group from monopolizing advancement. As the session stretched into its 15th hour, Major Dant Chen, who had been silently observing, finally spoke. "We need to address the root cause of conflict, fear and misunderstanding of the other. I propose we establish a galactic exchange program, allowing individuals from all worlds to live and work in different cultures." His suggestion was met with murmurs of approval. Captain Okonkwo built upon it. "And we could repurpose some of our military vessels as exploration ships, seeking out new civilizations to welcome into the galactic community rather than to conquer or exploit them. As dawn broke over Harmonix, casting prismatic light through the crystal spires and into the Grand Hall, the outline of a new galactic civilization had been drawn. It was far from perfect, with many details still to be worked out, but it was a start, a foundation built on the hard-earned wisdom of a costly war. President Chen and Emperor Zixnax, once bitter enemies, now stood side by side to address the assembly. "What we've begun here today," Chen said, her voice thick with emotion, "is nothing short of a rebirth of galactic society. It will require dedication, compassion, and sacrifice from all of us. But I believe that together, we can build a future worthy of all our children." Zixnax's compound eyes gleamed as he added, "Let this be the dawn of a new era, one where the diversity of life among the stars is celebrated, not feared, where exploration replaces exploitation, and understanding triumphs over ignorance." As the delegates filed out of the hall, there was a sense of cautious optimism. The real work was just beginning, but for the first time in recent memory, the galaxy's future seemed bright. In the weeks and months that followed, the decisions made on Harmonix began to reshape the cosmic landscape. Imperial worlds held their first free elections, with many choosing to join the new Galactic Federation of allied planets. Earth's advanced technology spread rapidly, revolutionizing energy production and space travel across the galaxy. The first classes of the Galactic Exchange Program departed, with humans, former Imperials, and members of a dozen other species embarking on journeys to live and learn on distant worlds. Construction began on Unity Station, a massive space habitat that would serve as the headquarters for the new Galactic Council. But perhaps the most poignant moment came a year after the war's end, on the human colony of Novaterra. There, in the rebuilt capital of New Eden, a memorial was unveiled. At its center stood a holographic statue of Ava Peterson, the young girl whose death had sparked the conflict. But now, her image was surrounded by holographs of children from every sentient species in known space, their hands linked in a symbol of unity. As President Chen laid a wreath at the base of the memorial, she felt a tug on her sleeve. She looked down to see Ethan Peterson, Ava's younger brother, now 7 years old, the same age Ava had been when she died. "Do you think Ava would be happy with how things turned out?" Ethan asked, his young face serious. Kira knelt down beside him, her eyes misty. "I think she would be, Ethan. Your sister's sacrifice taught us all a valuable lesson about the preciousness of life, all life. And now, because of her, countless children across the galaxy will grow up in a world of peace and opportunity." Ethan nodded solemnly, then pointed to the stars just becoming visible in the twilight sky. "One day, I'm going to visit all of those worlds," he declared. "I'll make friends everywhere, just like Ava would have wanted." As Kira watched Ethan run off to join a group of alien children, part of the first wave of the exchange program, she felt a profound sense of hope. The road ahead would not be easy, but for the first time in a long while, the future of humanity, and indeed, of all sentient life, looked boundlessly bright. The galaxy had been forever changed, and the great adventure of coexistence and mutual discovery was just beginning.